Hey y'all, it's Sarah, and I love to talk about movies. If you're interested, I do have vlogs and other videos, hair, what have you. Anyway, so my favorite genre is horror. Horror, everything. Teen slashers, folk horror, modern horror is fine. Something that I've never been on board with until recently is holiday horror, except for Halloween. Horror movies that center on Halloween are okay, they pass. But Christmas themed horror movies, I'm looking at you sideways. So what got my attention about Krampus, which no idea what a Krampus was, didn't know anything about like the lore before I watched it, and you don't need to. I looked at the cast and I looked at the director, who also did one of my favorite Halloween themed horror movies, Trick or Treat, and I was like, okay, you got me. So I watched it and then I added it to my collection. Krampus begins 2 days before Christmas when people are still doing their holiday shopping, and at the mall, the doors are open, people come running in to grab last minute gifts, and in another area, a bunch of kids are putting on like, it looks like the nativity scene, you know, doing like a Christmas pageant kind of thing, when a fight breaks out between two of the kids. And at the same time, people are losing it in the store area and are fighting each other for toys and getting dragged out by security. There's a lot of activity going on. Two parents in particular rush forward onto the stage to separate the kids. And in the next scene, we're inside of a big house, and what looks like somebody's grandma's in the kitchen cooking. When the car pulls up, you hear doors slam, you know, people getting out of the car. The woman from earlier is talking and is, you know, telling their son Max that he shouldn't have started the fight, and Max is telling them why. He comes in, he talks to the older woman. He calls her Omi. She's his grandmother. So Omi is preparing for their guests. They are preparing this huge spread for his aunt, his uncle, and their 4 kids. Max's sister Beth is not having it. She's not excited. Apparently, they cause a lot of problems when they come to visit. A little while later, they show up. So it's Sarah's sister Linda, her husband Howard, Jordan, Howie Jr., Stevie, and Chrissy. And surprise! Aunt Dorothy showed up at the last minute. Everybody gets ready for dinner. And they have dinner. It's awkward. Things were said at the table that made things even more awkward. A fight broke out between 2 of the kids, and Max is so angry he just leaves the table. Max has written a letter to Santa, very important letter, very personal letter that was read at the table, which is part of what started the fight. So his father goes to speak with him. The conversation doesn't go as well as he hoped. Max gets very upset, rips up the letter, and throws it out the window, where it is taken away by the wind. Soon after, the snowfall starts to increase, and later on, their power goes out. Beth gets worried about her boyfriend/neighbor and decides to go a couple blocks over just to make sure that everything's okay with his family. In the meantime, there's plenty of food and the fireplace is working, so they all decide to sort of settle in together until the power comes back on or there's more news about what's going on with the weather. After a while, Sarah gets worried about Beth. She's been gone longer than they expected, so Howard and Tom go out to look for her. So they drive a couple blocks down to the neighbor's house. They go inside and they can't find anyone. The house is a mess. And they decide to head back to the house. On the way back, they notice that a vehicle is like stuck on the road. They go to investigate it and they find that the car has been attacked by something. So they decide to go back to their car, you know, round everybody up and head to the nearest shelter when Howard is attacked and their car destroyed. So by the time they finally make it back to the house, they're half frozen through. Howard is hurt, and they weren't able to find Beth. So in the middle of the night, Howie falls into a trap and gets taken. So at this time, Omi decides to share a story from her childhood and what happened one night when she made a very terrible wish. So as more and more people disappear, the things responsible come out of the darkness. And Max's family is the target. Stevie and Jordan are attacked. So after they decide to make a run for the snowplow, to run as fast as they can and try to make it and try to drive it to the nearest local shelter. On the way there, a few more people are taken and Max and his cousin are left. When his cousin is taken, Max follows the trail straight to Krampus and his servants. Max regrets his wish and makes another one to take it back. To take back the wish that he made that terrible night. Max's request sort of opens up this portal in the ground. Krampus drops him into it, falls into this portal, and is suddenly waking up in bed at home. He comes downstairs, his whole family is there, everyone is smiling and happy, and he thinks that it was all just a terrible nightmare. Until he starts to hear flashbacks of some of the things that were said during that time. In hearing it, it seems that their memories of that time started to come back as well. And suddenly the mood shifts, the smiles fade. As the perspective moves further and further away through the house and out of the windows, you can see the front of their house is covered in snow. And then moving back even further, you can see the houses on either side. And then we keep moving back until we see that we're inside a snow globe. And Krampus's hand is setting it down alongside many other snow globes in what appears to be his workshop. You hear a Christmas song playing in the background, and right before the scene ends, all of his helpers come into frame and then jump at the viewer. And that's how the story ends. There are so many reasons why I like the story and so many reasons why I like the choices that were made. Because it's stuff like the family that we're focused on are like very much upper class. Okay, they got a big old house, 2-story house kind of thing. So seeing how they do Christmas, because they have so much more room to do more. They just have more resources to do big, crazy things with their decorations or with how they do Christmas. So them being the main characters, you can see what kind of decorations do they do. You know, the fact that they do a Christmas portrait every year and all of them are hung up on the wall, that's crazy. But I liked seeing that detail. It made them seem like, number one, that they're trying too hard. Which is okay, but that felt like a very real thing, you know, their mom, Sarah, being so stressed out about not only Christmas in general, but hosting her sister's side of the family, which sounds a bit more country and, to be frank, poorer than her side of the family. And then finding out, you know, that dynamic. It's not rich versus poor, it's just they do Christmas differently, do things that the other family wouldn't do, or like include things that they don't care about, you know? So seeing that dynamic was fun. The younger sister versus the older sister, that was fun too. Seeing the differences in the husbands, like this sister chose this guy to be her husband, this sister chose that guy to be her husband, why? You know, stuff like that. Oh, the unexpected, unwanted relative for Christmas showing up at the last minute. That felt very relatable. That felt relatable as hell. Sure did. The one that knows that nobody don't like her and knows that nobody likes spending time with her, just sort of inserting herself into their Christmas vacation was funny. I love the fact that his grandmother is very traditional when it comes to certain things and shares her traditions with her grandson. They seem to be like best friends, which was adorable and so cute. And I love seeing that relationship. That's not one that you get to see a lot in horror movies specifically. You know, But it's Christmas time, so I'm learning that with these holiday horror movies that different opportunities kind of open up to tell stories in different ways. Yes, it is a horror movie about a character of Christmas folklore that comes to life to stalk and terrorize, but also it's about a family that has all of these different dynamics that feel quite genuine, and I love that. I loved all of the little bite-sized emotional connections between characters, and that made them feel very real and very relatable, and made you want to root for them. Even if you don't like them, even if you can't really relate to them, you were still rooting for them in the end. The story ending the way it did, it was satisfying and unsatisfying, because I wanted them, I wanted them to have their happy ending, but also Krampus is an ass. So of course not, you can't take back a wish. It doesn't work like that. First of all, the design, Krampus, the gingerbread men, which every time, because I watch this movie every year, every time I see them open mouth cackling at shooting Howard with that nail gun, it cracks me up every single time because they're laughing so hard. It would be one thing if they were kind of like chuckling and giggling to themselves, but they are like knee slapping, rearing back, laughing. Jack in the Box. What were y'all thinking? It's horrible. Oh my gosh. And then I don't know if you guys noticed, there's a song, a Krampus song that they sing during the movie and at the end when they play the credits and stuff. It's like a custom song, and it was such a surprise to me to hear, but it's like details like that are layered over the story so that it makes it less like goofball slapstick comedy, which some of that is in there too, because how can it not be when you're being attacked by a teddy bear? How can it not be when the angel on top of your tree has turned into like a demon with wings? So I would give Krampus a 4 out of 5. It's one of my favorite stories. It's so unexpected. There are so many crazy details in the story that really make it feel full as it can be, because we're only seeing this family over 2 or 3 days during a specific event of the year in like a specific location. It's like a capsule. And I think they did such a great job. The casting was so great. The performances were top notch. And I highly, highly recommend it, especially for the holiday season. But you guys let me know what you think. Thank you all for spending your time here with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.